Penn State wins its 9th Big Ten title, 3rd Big Ten title in a row, 5 individual champions. Now, where's this team heading into NCAAs with everything that happened over the weekend? Still in a pretty good spot.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to Penn State Wrestling, and thank you so much for joining this live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Zach Seyko, and I am your host of the show. Penn State, dominant fashion, but it didn't necessarily live up to those expectations that are set for Penn State, and that's why I start off the show with how do they look going into the NCAA tournament, because there was the unfortunate injury to Josh Barr. What is his status? Mikey Caliendo gave Mitchell Messenbrink everything that he could handle. That was the closest margin we've ever seen. Carter Starachi went to sudden victory against Max McAnally and did get the win. Greg Kirkfleet still a little bit far away from Gable Steveson. So this is a live show, so your contributions are just as important as mine to this conversation. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. But Penn State gets 5 individual champions. Luke Lillidahl wins alongside Tyler Kasak, Mitchell Messenbrink, Levi Haynes, and Carter Starachi. Gable Steveson defeats Greg Kirkfleet, so Kirkfleet ultimately takes second. Shane Van Ness and Bo Bartlett bounce back and win third. Braden Davis gets pinned and ultimately takes fourth. And Josh Barr had to forfeit due to injury and ends up taking sixth. I think that was by no means what anybody expected, right? That he was at a minimum going to take third place, but Penn State wins another Big Ten championship. They beat the score that they had a season ago. Now, granted, Carter did injury default earlier in the tournament, so he didn't even wrestle, and you got to imagine that Penn State would have had another individual champion there. But when you compare and contrast 2024 to 2025, last year's team did better. And if you factor in, okay, hypothetically, what would have Carter Starachi contributed in? Because they had 9 placements. They had 9 placements at last year's Big Ten tournament. And Penn State had 10 this time around, but not to the same degree. So they had 5 individual champions. They had 2 second-place finishers, and they had 2 third-place finishers as well. So, and that was 9 out of 9 for Penn State, finishing in the top 3 spots last season. This time around, they had 5 individual champions, a 1 second-place finisher with Greg Kirkfleet because of the return of Gable Steveson. We understand that. 2 third-place finishers, a 4th-place finisher, and a 6th-place finisher. Well, if this is the team that's supposed to set records and go down in history at March at the NCAA tournament, it doesn't look that way. At least based on the Big Ten tournament. Now, that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. What is going to change and dictate this conversation moving forward is the availability of Josh Barr, because whether he's 100% or honestly even 75, 80%, Barr, while he's not as strong of a national title contender, it is Stephen Buchanan, it's Jacob Cardenas, probably AJ Ferrari, then Barr's in his own category, but he's there. He is there. He defeated Jacob Cardenas, and Cardenas, as we talked about on this show, ended up winning a Big Ten title. So we expected that there. So Barr defeated Cardenas once. Cardenas just defeated Buchanan. So it's one of those everybody trades a win here and there, kind of like 141 now. But that's what I mean. You go through this lineup, and I think Penn State's case to do even better at NCAAs is now stronger. The expectation is even stronger because the doubt was that, okay, will Luke Lillidahl even be an All-American? Luke Lillidahl should be a number 1 seed going into NCAAs. He should be one of the favorites at 125. Then at 133, I understand the concerns with Braden Davis that he's just not the same caliber as these other wrestlers, and it obviously shows. He got pinned by Nick Mazakis today. But you look at Bo Bartlett to defeat Jesse Mendez back-to-back. How many wrestlers can say that they've beaten Jesse Mendez in back-to-back matches like that? Shane Van Ness, downright almost tech fault. He almost had a tech fall, shut out Kyle Parko, who was a national title contender in his own right. Maybe Van Ness just has his number, but at the end of the day, to win 13-0 against a national title contender speaks volumes. Tyler Kasak won in his dominant fashion. He has to argue, he is easily the strongest overall wrestler at 157. But when that new degree of speed, that next gear that he's taken here in his second season, if you combine those things together, Tyler Kasak needs to be the NCAA favorite for 157. Mitchell Messenbrink, now Mikey Caliendo gave him a good fight. I was not expecting a 4-1 result between the two of them. But with Messenbrink scoring only, and we talked about that going into the final preview. In my finals preview, I said that, Caliendo's got nothing to lose. He's probably going to try something different. That instead of trying to outpace or keep up with Mitchell Messenbrink, you notice how he slowed it down, changed the pace, was very selective with his shots, rather than Mitchell Messenbrink dictating the pace. And he figured something out. Levi Haynes, solid convincing victory against Lenny Pinto. It is Keegan O'Toole and Levi Haynes, and I think Dean Hamity on one of those three is winning a national title at 174. Carter Starachi, Max Macchinelli, talked about it right here. Macchinelli has arrived, and if anybody should be concerned, it is Parker Kakaisen. Macchinelli got the opening takedown. If it was, I don't want to say lazy, but you could tell Macchinelli was exhausted at the end, had a poor effort, a poor selection on that last shot, and Carter Starachi made him pay. So that was Macchinelli making a freshman mistake there. It was kind of like Barr against Cardenas. You just made an inexperienced move, and I'm referring back to Barr's match against Cardenas here in the semifinal. But Barr had the injury default. He got injured against Isaiah Salazar, and it is so unfortunate. Now, Penn State, for Josh Barr, in Josh Barr's case, there wasn't a lot of confidence, at least, and this is, I know I'm rattling these off, but there's so much to get to in a nutshell here in a live recap. For Josh Barr, Penn State Wrestling has the best training staff you could ask for. So Josh Barr is in good hands with his injury recovery, with Dan Monthly as that lead trainer for Penn State Wrestling. He got Carter Starachi right with that leg injury. So deja vu all over again, where in the Big Ten tournament, Starachi's dealing with a leg injury. Josh Barr, similar circumstances. The only difference is the timeline. Starachi was injured at the end of the regular season in that final dual meet, and Barr gets injured in the consolation semifinal at the Big Ten tournament. Because remember, Starachi did not wrestle last season. I like how the Big Ten broadcast crew, and Carter Starachi did not like that the Big Ten broadcast crew brought it up. So Barr has a shortened timeline, and the hope is that it's just not as serious as it looks, because he could not put a lot of weight on it. He could not put a lot of strength into it. So you're really hopeful, just the way that people commentated on it. You see it in real time. You see it actually happen, and it's concerning. But I will give the benefit of the doubt to this Penn State Wrestling training staff, medical staff, that Josh Barr can give it a go. He won't be 100%. He's not going to be as strong as an NCAA title contender as he was before, because that stamina, that conditioning, that speed, that all takes a hit. So you combine that with some of that inexperience that has shown up with some of these with these matches between the best of the best in Buchanan and Cardenas. You're probably going to lose those ones when you get there. However, Barr's still an All-America contender, a strong one at that, if he's hobbled with the one leg. Greg Kirkfleet losing to Gable Steveson 10-3. That was kind of the concern, that it was just going to be all Steveson. Now, the blueprint is there. It's not easy, but Kirkfleet can get it done. It's a one-way path. You have to win on escapes. You can't surrender a takedown, and you somehow, some way have to ride Steveson out for a majority of a period and win 2-1. That's the only way to defeat him. If you can do that, then wow, you're going to surprise a lot of people. But it almost seems, when I try to say it, when I try to speak it into existence, it almost feels impossible to an extent. So, but the distance is still clear. That was a big concern of mine. I had hopeful, cautious optimism that, hey, maybe this one is 6-4 and Kirkfleet can maybe get a takedown. Couldn't even do that. I didn't think it was going to happen. he hasn't closed the gap. Stevenson is still in peak form here when it comes to folk style wrestling. So that's the Big Ten tournament in a nutshell. Penn State wins with 181.5 points. It beats the margin that they had a season ago with 170.5. But remember, they did that with 9 wrestlers instead of 10. So they went backwards at the Big Ten tournament. But in my mind, I still think they can spring forward at NCAAs. And it kind of a pun here with the clocks changing, right? You fall back, spring forward with the clock change. Anyway, Penn State at NCAAs, I think, can still do very well. Bo Bartlett, Shane Van Ness, just because they lost those individual matchups does not mean that they're not national title contenders. Kasak is a favorite. Mitchell Messenbrink is a favorite. Levi Haynes is one of the favorites. Starachi is the favorite. The conversation changes based on Josh Barr's availability, because if you were going in there with 9, since he is an NCAA title contender, that can change things. But just to kind of give, where's Penn State's stock? Luke Lillidahl is now in that conversation as an NCAA title favorite. I think Penn State gets stronger after this, but Josh Barr's availability is all too important here. So let's get everybody else's thoughts. We're going to check in on the live chat and talk more about how Penn State wrestling, some other takeaways from the Big Ten tournament overall, as Penn State dominant once again, even though they did not live up to the expectations for this weekend, fell slightly short of them. We'll discuss it more on the other side of this break. And today's show is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And do you need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage now, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5, that is the letters SH and then the number 5, for 5% off your first order. That is supplyhouse.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by WayFair. Your home should reflect your style, and with WayFair, it's easier than ever to make that happen. So whether you're looking for a simple refresh or tackling a big home project, WayFair has everything you need all in one place. WayFair's huge selection makes it easy to find the perfect piece, no matter your space, no matter your budget. From cozy furniture and stylish decor to kitchen essentials and outdoor must-haves, WayFair has it all, and at prices that fit your budget. Finding the perfect piece is simple. It's easy. If you're looking for a new rug to tie your living room together, WayFair has so many stylish options and all at great prices. And then easy shopping and delivery. The site will make it so easy to compare styles, and your order will arrive fast with that free delivery. And it's more than just furniture. You'll be surprised to find everything from storage solutions to patio decor, making it your go-to for all things home. Head over to wayfair.com and find something that's just your style today. That is WAYFAIR, wayfair.com. WayFair, every style, every home. All right, let's resume our conversation here. So Penn State getting 5 individual champions, 1 second place finisher, 2 third place finishers, and 1 fourth place finisher, and then Josh Barr finishing 6th. Jump at the top of the chat. It is crazy to think that Penn State had 5 champions, won by over 44 points, and yet still feels like they didn't do that well. We are really a spoiled fan base. That's the standard that Cale Sanderson has set. The goal is to get more individuals, right? It's to get 6 individual champions, 7 finalists, 10 All-Americans, right? That's the idea here. Gable is next level, and Greg never committed to shooting for a takedown. Hats off to Gable. I don't see anyone standing a chance at NCAAs. There's still a clear power structure, if you will. It's Gable Steveson, it's Greg Kirkfleet, and then it's everybody else, because no one's catching Greg Kirkfleet. If it wasn't for Gable Steveson, Greg would be on his way to another Big Ten and NCAA title. No attacks from Greg. Greg's offense was limited, but it's because Steveson doesn't give you a lot to work with. If you just aimlessly try to attack Gable Steveson, he's going to turn defense into offense. So why put yourself into a vulnerable position where you are going to try and attack just for the sake of an attack, and then Steveson turns around? Now, Kirkfleet is not as far off as people would that maybe people would think after that match. I think it was impressive where Greg Kirkfleet almost had a reversal. It's just so tough to score on Steveson, which is why I say the only way that you're going to defeat him is if you get an escape point and you get the riding time point and you give up Steveson. You basically can't let Steveson take you down because you're not going to get a takedown against him. That's the only way. So it's not, oh, Greg doesn't have any offense. It's that Gable Steveson has unprecedented defense. That's really what it is. Shooting on Gable is a takedown for Gable 99% of the time. He's unbeatable. Yes, he is. And it's a shame that it's both Steveson and Kirkfleet's last year of eligibility, because if Kirkfleet could come back for another year, then he would win an NCAA title next year. The only thing that beats Gable is an injury, and he's so peak performance, peak endurance, peak everything. I think Stevenson's so built that his muscles, his tendons, and nothing's ever going to get injured. And I don't even like speaking that into existence. I want Greg to actually defeat Gable Steveson. I don't want it to be, well, Gable injury defaulted out, so therefore Greg Kirkfleet has a one-way. No, that's not how I want to see it. Or a great attack plan by Cassar about 20 years ago, it seems. Yes, that was, Cassar did beat him, give or take, 5-6 years ago? It's been a while. And it's not impossible, because remember, I know this was in high school, but Kirkfleet showed that it is possible to beat Steveson, but something just kicked in college where Stevenson's just become unbeatable. I don't know what it was, but they showed a high school highlight, unfortunately a high school highlight, where Kirkfleet actually won 3-2. So that's how you have to defeat Steveson. So not much changes in the fact that Steveson is beatable, but it takes it's the teams, the athletes that are the best. I want to try to simplify it. This applies to football, basketball, baseball. Teams that are good find a variety of ways to win and minimize their ways to lose. So that is what Steveson is there are so few ways to defeat him. There's only one path to defeating him, and to get to that path, it almost seems impossible. So he's minimized the ways that you can defeat him, and that's why he's number one. It's not rocket science, and I'm not trying to come off as, that I know better, but to simplify it, that's just it, is that Steveson has made it so there is only one way to defeat him, and it's almost downright impossible. See, I don't know. I don't think Greg had poor effort. He seemed disinterested, lack of energy and confidence. Why did he show no effort on bottom? Because Steveson weighs almost 280 pounds, and Kirkfleet's giving up 30 pounds of weight. He weighs about 250, 255. Steveson, I think, is almost a full 285. So there is a size advantage there for Steveson as well. Steveson just has everything. It's peak athleticism. He's at the top of the heavyweight. He weighs as much as he can without giving up that athleticism. It's impossible to beat Gable. Remember, he's an Olympic champion. Remember that. I don't know why he's wrestling in college. I don't know why he came back, but I don't know. Let's see. A lot of comments about Steveson and Kirkfleet. And I understand, because that was the most recent matchup. Didn't see the Barr injury. How bad are we talking? So Josh Barr, some people speculated that it was a hamstring injury. From the looks of it, it looks like a knee injury, because the way that he was walking seemed like he couldn't put any pressure on his knee. It was bad. He looked shaken up early in a scramble with Isaiah Salazar in that consolation semifinal. And then they took a break. There was either a blood timeout or maybe it was an injury timeout either way. Josh Barr got checked out by the trainers, and he went back out. Hindsight's 2020, but man, I would have pulled him out of that matchup. He did not look right the first time they took a timeout. And then he gets into another scramble. Salazar gets the takedown, and then that's where he was really grabbing his knee and his leg, and it looked bad, right? I don't want to report. I can't go on the record that it's a knee injury. It is a leg injury. I can confirm that. And that's based on the eye test and what everybody else is saying. So Josh Barr, you just kind of hope for the best. I would say that everybody is, if I had to pinpoint, is it good or bad? It's bad. It's bad. I don't see a lot. I don't see a lot of reasons to be optimistic other than the fact that because he left that match. Jeff Byers pointed out on the radio broadcast that Josh Barr is as tough as nails. And if he says that he can't go, then that means that it is an injury and it is bothering him. So that's the fact of the matter. It's very tough. It's very unfortunate. Now, here's the bright side of it is that Penn State Wrestling couldn't ask for a better medical staff, a better training staff. Dan Monthly, the lead trainer, will get Josh Barr right. It's a short timeline, though. It's a very short timeline. It's 10 days. It is a quick turnaround. The following Thursday. I hope and pray and wish nothing but the best for Josh Barr, obviously, right? Kasak versus Shapiro is going to be a lot of fun. If Shapiro brings his A game, if not, Kasak will be too much for him physically. And it's that speed. It's the reaction time. We didn't even get to go through Kasak's individual matchup where, and again, I get it. It's against Brandon Cannon, and Cannon's still coming into his own. He was an 8th seed, right? Cannon still wasn't. That was supposed to be if Sammy Sasso was, again, God bless everything that he's went through, right? And recovered through. But Cannon taking over that spot and was able to qualify for Big Tens, being a part-time starter this season. He made a bad shot attempt, and it was the reaction time and the power that Kasak almost put his back shoulder through that mat. He slammed him hard against the mat and ended up getting all. So that's what Kasak can do. It's the power. It's the pure strength. You cannot, good luck debating whether or not Kasak is well, maybe he's second or third. I'd argue he is one of the strongest wrestlers. If you go to each weight class, I don't know how you can make this comparison because obviously heavyweight wrestlers are going to be stronger, but I would argue that Kasak among his weight class is up there with Haynes in terms of the strongest representative of their weight classes. It is that pure strength, but now you couple that with speed. You couple that with experience. That is going to be hard to beat for the next 3 years at 157. Tyler Kasak is an NCAA title favorite. He's easily. Meyer Shapiro's good. I'm taking Tyler Kasak though. In NCAA's, Bartlett and Van Ness have to pick up their pace. Braden Davis, I have no hope for him. So I'll reserve this comment for after the break. We'll resume the break with talking about Bo Bartlett, Shane Van Ness, and Braden Davis because they did wrestle their third place bouts. 2 of them extremely impressive against Mendez and Parco. Braden Davis, got pinned against Nick Bazakis. We'll talk about that more coming up next here on this live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. And today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. And right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. You can pick your favorite teams. If you've got your eye on a few underdogs this year, FanDuel will make it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. You stay in the action all tournament long. Tournament games are happening almost every day, and there's always something exciting to bet on. And it's easy and fast. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com for your shot at $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Get in on the college hoops action all tournament long with FanDuel. And we'll wrap up here with talking about Bo Bartlett, Shane Van Ness. So my opinion hasn't changed about Bo Bartlett, Shane Van Ness, Braden Davis, a little bit more so. I've had my hopeful optimism for Braden Davis that, hey, it's the injury. He's been in and out of the lineup. He was impressive he did defeat Nick Bazakis one time. He defeated Dylan Shaver. And then to lose to both of them this time around, I think is kind of telling. So whether it is injury related, I think it has to do with injury. I think it has to do with conditioning and stamina. I just think it has to do with strength and just a lack of maybe some wrestling IQ. And I know that's rich of me to say for somebody that never did wrestle, and I'm not afraid to admit that, but I can appreciate the sport regardless of if I actually did it or not. But when I watch Braden Davis, Nick Bazakis you can't ride Nick Buzakis. So that's the scouting report for Buzakis. You need to know your opponent to an extent. If you have some other weaknesses, I think a glaring weakness for Braden Davis is he is extremely easy to pick up. He is extremely easy to throw. Why is that the case? Because of hips and leg strength. Everybody else, Levi Haynes, Tyler Kasak, everybody has heavy hips. Or if you're Luke Lillidahl and you're Mitchell Messenbrink, you use that speed to scurry away so that you don't get taken down. Carter Starachi also falls into that category of heavy hips. So you get Josh Barr. So you get what I'm saying. So Braden Davis lacks in both. He lacks in speed and he lacks in leg strength, and he's not really making up for it with some extra IQ here. So you kind of couple all these things together. I still think Braden Davis is an extremely talented wrestler. He's good at a little bit of everything, but he's not elite. He's not elite at one thing. Maybe his defense, but that's to an extent. You see the match against Buzakis, you see the matchup against Shaver, and he gets thrown, he gets tossed, and it's small little mistakes that, okay, you're a second-year wrestler that, granted, you're still a true sophomore. You're 19, right? He's 18, 19, 20 years old. I don't know his exact age. I just know he's a second-year wrestler as a true sophomore. So for Braden Davis, it's those little shortcomings at each of those categories of pure strength, pure speed, wrestling IQ, where you have to have something to be a wrestler at Penn State, to have something to be an All-America contender, but it's missing when he goes up against Lucas Bird or Drake Ayala, and as we've seen, Nick Buzakis proved me right this weekend because he was on my radar this whole time, and he ends up coming through and pins Braden Davis in the process. And so at the end of the day, Braden Davis is an All-America contender. He's not a national title contender. Whether this has to do with the leg injury, again, he showed me a lot against Ryan Crookham, but that was a long time ago. So I won't. Now, for the people that are saying Davis needs to hit the portal, Davis needs to be on his way out, Davis is an All-America contender, right? So because he's not Luke Lillidahl is an exception. Levi Haynes is an exception. Tyler Kasak is an exception. These guys that come in right away and right out of the gate, they are immediately national title contenders. Carter Starachi. So I get what the standard is, but that's where Penn State, remember, not every single Penn State wrestler, even just 4 or 5 years ago, was this routine, oh, they're a juggernaut at their weight. So would Penn State explore options at 133 for next season? I know that's ways away and looking too far ahead, and that's not something what I want to do on the heels of a Big Ten title and when Penn State's going to win another NCAA title, but this is what people are talking about. Is Braden Davis a liability at 133? He's not a liability. I think that is for someone who's an All-America contender, people are complaining about Braden Davis as a top 10 wrestler. That's something. I get it. He finished 4th place at Big Tens. I'm still going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I still think better days of wrestling are ahead. But would Penn State be open to a competition next year? Maybe, because Aaron Nagau's still in the room. There's the rumors that Ono could join the room. So is 133 locked down for Braden Davis? I'd have to speculate that it's not necessarily a guarantee that it is. Let's just put it that way. Zach, you're constantly saying the wrestler from Cornell is the one to beat at 150. I have not said that. I've said that it's Tyler Kasak's the NCAA favorite, and then it's Meyer Shapiro. I did not say that. I think Parker beats Max McAnally by major. Kakaisen won't sit around and wait for an opening like Carter did. He's going to take it to him. Maybe after he's seen it, right? You kind of see something. Max McAnally has put it out there that he has arrived. So I wouldn't be surprised if Parker Kakaisen changes his strategy. Luke Lillidahl looks like a number 1 seed. The kid that Starachi is a tank. Kirk has no answer for Gable. We're summing it all up here. Haynes looks terrific. What happened to Barr? Only saw his 5th place finish, and that doesn't look right. So there's any updates on the Barr injury? Not at this time, and there's no media availability for Cale Sanderson this week. No media availability for Sanderson. Next week, it's going to be the following Monday. So tomorrow's the 10th, the 17th. St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. That's when we talk to Cale Sanderson next. Max McAnally and Ferrari are going to be fantastic at 184 rivalry for the next 4 years. So I mean, not to split hairs, McAnally will only have 3 years of eligibility. Ferrari will have 4. Do we want to throw Zach Ryder in there? Do we? I think Zach Ryder has a case. Just because he's redshirting and we haven't seen much of him, Josh Barr emerged onto the scene, right? So same thing can be said. The same thing should be expected for Zach Ryder at 184. I feel like Kale will have the boys ready for NCAAs. It wasn't a disappointment. I'll finish with this since we're around our 30-minute mark. Penn State did not meet expectations. And when all the chatter, and especially on this show, that this is a historical team, this team is bound to break records in March, they can still do that, but they've certainly hit some speed bumps along the way. And I think that Penn State had a reality check this weekend because, like I said, my opinion doesn't change about Bo Bartlett, doesn't change about Shane Van Ness. They're NCAA title contenders. So just because they lost at their Big Ten semifinals doesn't mean that they could and it's not even miraculously. They can still turn around and win NCAA titles. Andrew Alira's lost this weekend. Jesse Mendez lost twice to Bo Bartlett. 141, what I learned about these weight classes, 141, 149, is that it's just not so much of a sure thing. It is not a 3-man race between Alira, Mendez, and Bartlett. Brock Hardy he could be the number 1 seed. He could be the number 1 seed at 141, and that's going to be massive. Vance Bombauer can upset anybody and everybody. So that's the part of it, is that it's not this narrow race. It's an expanded pool of competitors that are legitimate NCAA title contenders at these different weight classes. And 184, I know that we're all going to sit here and say, well, Carter Starachi is a pending 5-time champ. It's not going to be easy. Whether it's Max McAnally, Parker Kakaisen, it's just not going to be easy. So don't just bank on the fact, oh, well, it's Carter Starachi. As we saw today, Max McAnally gave him everything that he could handle. Wow, what a weekend. What a weekend it was for Penn State wrestling, the Big Ten tournament. Nothing to bat an eye at here. Nine titles, 3rd consecutive as a team, 181 points, 181 and a half, I should say. And Penn State gets 5 individual champions, a 2nd place finisher, a 3rd place finisher, 2 3rd place finishers, and a 4th and a 6th. Everybody placed at the end of the day. And I still have high expectations for NCAAs. It is going to be dependent on Josh Barr's availability, but still, even with those 9 wrestlers, if we assume the worst and Josh Barr's not going to be ready to go, you still have a title contender at 125. 133, Braden Davis, I think best case scenario is All-America. 141, 149, 157, 165, 174, 184. Hopefully Josh Barr's there. Heavyweight, 2nd place. So Penn State's still in a fantastic spot. And with all the bonus points that they're going to rack up along the way, with all the offense that they score, that team title record, that points record is still within reach for this Penn State wrestling team. So they could set historical records once again. It just won't be in the same manner that maybe we thought it would be. So that's going to do it here for myself here on Locked On Nittany Lions. Thank you so much for checking out the live show. We're going to have plenty more conversations over the course of this week. Just because Penn State wrestling gets some time to recover and regroup, and then a week's away from NCAAs, we're going to have plenty more conversations about what to expect going forward, get updates as quickly as possible about the status of Josh Barr and anything else, some more analysis about this team, as Penn State wrestling still has plenty more in front of it with its own March Madness here in Philadelphia. So thank you so much for checking out this live edition. Thank you for contributing your thoughts in the comments section. Do not miss out on these live shows. Do not miss out on any new episodes around Penn State wrestling. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts, become an everydayer. And for all your favorite for all the conversations around your favorite Penn State sports teams, whether it's Penn State wrestling, Penn State football, Penn State men's basketball, and so much more, keep it right here on Locked On Nittany Lions.